welcome to the Johnny Cleveland Podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of, that's right, the Johnny Cleveland Podcast. How is everybody on this Saturday morning? Yes, it's kind of gloomy here in Ohio. Can't lie. I don't know why did we come back here to Ohio? I lived out there in sunny Kansas all those years. Oh, that's right. I came back because of my lovely family, my beautiful wife, and all those things that are good. And we are excited to be back here in the Buckeye State. We love our state. We love being a Buckeye. I love being a Browns fan, Guardians fan, and Cavs fan. All things Cleveland sports. We are happy to that you're here. This is the Johnny Cleveland Podcast. You can follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, and let's see what else. We're on TikTok sometimes. Our handle on for the Twitter would be my handle, my name, John Suchan. So follow me there. And I'm also a contributor to Cleveland Sports Talk, to Dog Pound Daily, and to the King James Gospel. Lots of things happening around the world of sports, especially here in Cleveland. It always seems like Cleveland is at the center of the sports universe. If those of you who are following me on our StreamYard, thanks for watching the show. This is actually being recorded. It's not live, but if you want to comment on anything that we talk about as we post this to Facebook or Twitter, would love to see your comments. Love seeing the comments from last week. Lots of things to talk about, especially with the Cleveland Browns, the trade of Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson, the quarterback from the Houston Texans, the Browns had their press conference yesterday afternoon, introduced him to Cleveland Browns fans across the globe. Thought the Browns front office, the GM, Andrew Berry, the coach, Kevin Stefanski, they all did a good job of answering questions the best they could. There were a lot of hard-nosed questions, and I feel like, overall, all parties, you're not going to get a lot of answers at this point. There's a lot of things going on in the background, off the field. Obviously, the Browns talked a little bit about how they believe in Deshaun Watson and moving forward. And so, as a fan, it's hard. We talked about this last week on the podcast. I'm not going to lie. I mean, it's been a difficult week, and getting comfortable with trying to, with all the news that's off the field. So we're going to move forward. We're going to keep, following the Browns. And like I said, I contribute to Dog Pound Daily, Cleveland Sports Talk. We've been writing a lot about various parts of the Browns moving forward. This free agency coming up. Got an article coming out tomorrow on some of the past best free agents in Cleveland Browns history. Any guesses on those? We'll talk about that here momentarily. And let's see, I had an article come out this last week on some free agent bargains that are still out there for the Cleveland Browns to consider. The Browns have lost a few free agents over the last week or so. Some of them potentially could be coming back to the team. The wide receiver, Jarvis Landry, the Browns released him to save some, $15, $16 million off their cap. But he could be potentially coming back. There's been rumors out there. Even Odell Beckham Jr., who left the team abruptly in an odd way mid-season, has been reported as potentially wanting to possibly return. I believe it was John Johnson III, the cornerback or safety for the Browns, who posted something on one of his social media platforms. I believe it was Instagram. And so we'll see if those players potentially could come back. It would be very interesting. Jadeveon Clowney, again, the player who played defensive end opposite of Myles Garrett, had one of his best career years playing for the Browns. He's seeking a lot of money. Apparently, from what has been reported, he's been offered somewhere upwards of a 2-year deal with the Browns at about $12 million a year. These guys still haven't signed, so you're wondering what's going on. We'll see what transpires over the next week. The biggest of the stories for the Browns is, what are the Browns doing with their former face of their franchise, Baker Mayfield. Because currently Baker Mayfield is still on the books. He is still owed $18+ million going into the next year. He has not been traded yet. There's information out there from various sources that are speculating that other teams want the Browns to take part of his contract or deal and pay on that. Does Baker get a starting role? We've talked about this last week, potentially maybe the Seattle Seahawks would be interested and he could, fight for the job there, the starting role. The other team that's popped up again, and some speculation, is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Yes, Tom Brady, the greatest quarterback of all time. Still not sold on that. I know a lot of you are. He decided to come out of retirement after about 2 weeks. And Baker potentially could go down there. Bruce Arians, who's the coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, has always liked Baker Mayfield. And would Baker be okay in a backup role for a year while Brady gets out all of his things that he needs to do as a football player, because he's 45,000 years old, but he still wants to play? So could that work? It would be an interesting twist, wouldn't it? Baker Mayfield backing up Tom Brady. So we'll see what happens with Baker. Something should probably happen this week, I would guess, but stranger things have happened. So we'll see what happens with Jarvis. We'll see what happens with Jadeveon Clowney. The Browns did lose a couple free agents over the last week or so. Players like MJ Stewart, he's signed with the Houston Texans, where Deshaun Watson just came from. Rashard Higgins, Hollywood Higgins, he just signed up with the Carolina Panthers. And Austin Hooper, he was a release. He was a cut by the Browns, the other tight end, because the Browns franchise tag David Njoku, the other tight end. So Austin Hooper was released. He signed with the Tennessee Titans. So those are some of the things that are going on with the Browns. What will happen this next week? Who knows? But stay tuned. Let's move on a little bit of talk about those Cleveland Cavaliers. Well, that's what they are in the midst of a 2-game losing streak, and they're really coming to the very end of this regulation. They've got 8 or 9 games left, and they've had a hell of a season. They stand at 41-32. No one in the world expected them to be in a position where they're still currently in the 6th seed in the Eastern Conference. And they have they've guaranteed themselves a play-in spot. They have this little play-in tournament where teams that are seeded 7 through 10 play this unusual new thing that they've started in the NBA, where it's kind of a mini series, and whoever comes out of those mini series then gets that 7 and 8 slot. So then the number 8 seed of those teams get to play the 1 seed, and so forth. So right now Cleveland is clinging to the 6th spot. If they hold on to the 6th spot, then they don't have to play in this play-in tournament. They would be set to play whoever's the 3 seed. I believe that's the Philadelphia 76ers, which would be a tough challenge when the Cavs do get to the playoffs, having to go against Joel Embiid and James Harden. Tough out. So the Cavs, their youth is starting to show a bit. I've never been sold also on their coaching. I've shared that on King James Gospel, written in several articles about my faith or lack of it in JB Bickerstaff. I know I'm probably the only one in the world that feels this way, but I don't feel that JB Bickerstaff has a real good grasp on, I don't know if it's the X's and O's or just making quicker decisions, seeing what's going on in games, and making changes. I think that he's some of these players, these rotations have really worn out players. And to be perfectly honest, I think also he's getting to a point where the team is maybe not buying into everything that he's selling and talking about. And the team looks disjointed a little bit more. And I know there are injuries, and I know Jared Allen is out, and my man Dean Wade from Kansas State, he's been out with a knee injury as well. And these are two players on the team that are hardcore, solid defenders. And without them in there to defend these other teams, that's hurting the team. So the Cavs defense is lax. Now you can blame that on a variety of things, and it's a combination in my opinion. But the fact that JB Bickerstaff can't get these guys to play better defense on a consistent basis goes to whatever message he's not getting across to the team, because right now is go time. You've got 8 or 9 games left, and they got to put all their effort and energy into trying to secure that 6th spot. And it just seems like all these games of late, especially the last couple games, they're getting off to really rough starts. They're not playing good defense, especially in transition. I don't know how many times in transition defense they're getting outnumbered. They're not hustling back. If you go watch highlights, the other teams, Toronto or the Lakers earlier in the week, they're pushing the tempo. And you, instead of having all 4 guys back on defense or 5, you got, numbers that are going against you. You got Lakers having 4 guys against 2. So those sorts of things those things can be corrected. That comes down to effort and energy and heart. And a lot of people say that the Cavs have that, and they're an exciting team. They've been exciting, but they're also young, and they can go through these streaks of up and down. And right now it's hold your breath. So the Cavs have these 3 games coming up tonight, starting with the Chicago Bulls. They have a 3-game stretch at home. They play the Bulls tonight. Then they get a game against the Orlando Magic. Some people have said, oh, they're playing the Magic. Well, that's an easy one. Well, the Magic, I think they beat the Golden State Warriors. Now, I think Warriors had an injury or 2. I think Steph Curry was out. But still, there's no team in the NBA that can't win a game on a nightly basis. And that comes down to energy and effort. And so the Cavs have got their work cut out. They got 3 at home. Hopefully they can take advantage of that home court. Hopefully the fans at down there at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse can get the team going and support them. They've been outstanding. Boy, watching and listening to the crowds, just reminiscent of when the Cavs had those great teams and they won that title back in 2016. It can make a difference. And looking forward to seeing how they come out tonight. Personally, it's got to be a must win, because if they lose this one to the Bulls, or they lose 2 out of the 3 at home, then you're looking at likely they're going to be a game out of that 6th spot. Toronto might overtake them, and then it's going to be a fight to try to get that 6th spot back. And then you're stuck in this play-in tournament, and who knows what can happen. But we're talking about playoffs, which is just phenomenal, right, guys? I mean, at the beginning of the season, if you told me that they were going to win 41 games, 45 games this season, that's phenomenal, considering that they won, 22 all of last year? So to get up to like 30 wins or 35 would have really been outstanding, I think, improvement. So the fact that they're up in this part of the standings and playing so hard most of the time, other than what we just talked about. So Cavs are in a good spot, so pay attention to that. Watch that game tonight, and hopefully the Cavs will pull out the victory against those Bulls. The Bulls are struggling too. They've been losing a little bit of late too, so it's a good opportunity for Cleveland to hopefully take advantage of that. All right, moving on. We're going to talk a little bit about, yes, some of you who are watching on TV or the video got my new Cleveland Guardians shirt on. Yeah, we're representing the Cleveland Guardians. They are now immersed in spring training down there, and having a pretty good spring training. We'll see what happens at the start of the season. They are, I tell you, looking at like numbers and statistics and the value of this team. The Guardians just don't put any money into this team, and I'll continue to root for them, as you are as a Cleveland Guardians fan. But until they start turning it around as far as putting more money and value into this team, they're going to continue to struggle. And I know we haven't even started the season yet, but it could be a long season. The Guardians, they do start April 7th. Happens to be my son Alec's birthday. Happy birthday, Alec. They start their season on the road in Kansas City to play the Kansas City Royals. If you ever get an opportunity to go out to Kansas City, it's a great place to go see a baseball game. If you're driving through that area, Kansas City, St. Louis, those Cardinals, great baseball fans, get a chance, watch a game out there. So they open up the season against the Kansas City Royals. Interesting note, I was looking at the Guardians schedule They finish this season against the Kansas City Royals as well. They have a 6-game homestand that ends the season in late September and the first week of October. I went back and I looked at the rest of the season, and because the season's getting off to a little bit later start because they had the Major League Baseball lockout, that must be why they've combined maybe 2 series with the Royals. But they have 6 games to finish off in Cleveland against the Royals. So who knows? I don't think the Indians, the Guardians are going to be vying for a playoff spot. But stranger things have been had. We didn't think the Cavs would be anywhere, and look where they're at. So we'll see what happens with the Guardians. Good luck to the Guardians this year. Got the gear, like we said, we're representing them, but team's got to put some more time and effort into paying these players. All right, last thing tonight. We are, immersed in March Madness. How about those St. Peter's Peacocks? Let me fly. I'm a peacock. Remember that movie? What was the Other Guys movie with Marky Wahlberg and Will Ferrell? And Marky Wahlberg is, let me fly, I'm a peacock. So that's all that people can think about in thinking about St. Peter's, the Peacocks. They're the number 15 seed in the collegiate tournament this last week or two with college basketball, and they beat Kentucky, and then they beat Purdue last night, and they've reached the Elite Eight, first time in the collegiate level in this tournament that the 15 seed has won and got into the Elite Eight. Amazing. The school is in New Jersey, outside of New York City. They have 2,000 students. That's it, 2,000 students, and their basketball team is playing lights out. They have some terrific guards that are just really good ball handlers. They run the floor. They're confident, and they are beating these great teams. So we'll see what happens with them. Go Peacocks! It's been a good tournament so far. A lot of the big name schools, Arizona, have been knocked out. Who else? From Kentucky, Gonzaga got knocked out. So it's up for grabs. KU Jayhawks are still there. I'm a Jayhawk fan, so go Kansas Jayhawks, and see what happens with them. If they can get the Final Four into the championship, that would be some fantastic news. All right. Anything else today? Well, I hope you liked the show today, and I hope you guys all have a very good weekend. Going to go watch the Batman movie. Have you gone to see the Batman movie yet? I've already seen it once, but we're going to go see it again. That's how good it is. So I hope everybody has a great weekend. Enjoy the cold weather here in Ohio. If you're up in northeastern Ohio, I think they're getting some snow. So enjoy that snow. Otherwise, everybody across the country, I hope you have a great rest of your weekend. Go Cleveland Sports, go Browns, go Guardians, go Cavs, and thanks for joining us on the Johnny Cleveland podcast. And remember, too, that's right, keep smiling.